the right choice. Allan Noel.
Something I've learned, you don't have to make a mistake to blow it. In October of 2005, my wife Beverly was diagnosed with late-stage ovarian cancer. At the time of the diagnosis, she was given more or less a maximum of 5 years. That was with several rounds of chemo. That is pretty standard for that type of cancer. But my wife was never very standard. She loved fencing. She was very dramatic. After her initial 6-month round of chemo and an operation, she remained cancer-free for 7 years, which is pretty unheard of. She quickly became her oncologist's pet patient. He liked to send the interns in to interview her because they'd say, when was your last chemo? And she'd say April of 2006. And they say, no, not the end of your first session. When was your latest? And she said April of 2006. And they'd start leafing through her very thick medical record going, that's not possible. But it was. After that initial chemo, we returned to a fairly normal life. She went back to work part-time. She could go back full-time because the chemo had been very aggressive and had left several long-lasting side effects. She had neuropathy in her hands. She tired very, very quickly. And her memory was not what it used to be. And for her, that was the hardest part because she had the most amazing memory, particularly for people. We spent many years working in Europe using theater, drama exercises to teach English. And we would do this often. We'd be, 6 classes a day, 5 days a week. And then on the weekend, we'd be walking downtown somewhere, downtown Helsinki, and she'd pass by a kid and go, oh, hi, Marco, how are you? Now, I was lucky to remember the kid's name to the end of the exercise. But she would look at me and say, oh, he played the nice guy in the 3rd lesson on Tuesday, remember? That was her memory before the chemo. After she couldn't learn a play anymore with any degree of certainty. She'd know it one day, the next day she wouldn't. Plays that we'd done literally hundreds of times before. Sometimes she just couldn't remember. That was very difficult for her. Well, after 7 years, the cancer returned. This time in her lymph system, which was typical for her in that it was atypical, because ovarian cancer does not spread into the lymph system. Her oncologist said he had no record of it ever happening anywhere before. But with her it did. And they tried several treatments that seemed to work for a while. Her numbers went back up again. She took it all in stride. She made one of the oncologists laughed when he said, now this next treatment, I'm afraid, will again make your hair fall out. To which she responded, what? Not having to shave my legs was the best part. But it came back again, and this time in her lungs. They tried increasingly more aggressive treatments, but it wasn't enough. And on January the 17th of 2014, my wife entered the hospital for the final time. Even though the breathing apparatus that we had purchased for her to use at home was no longer sufficient. She needed the hospital equipment. And we had several excellent conversations in those final weeks at the hospital. Even though it was difficult for her to talk with the breathing apparatus, we managed to talk about what she wanted with her remains. She donated them to research. She expressed her very intense fear of dying alone. She talked about what she wanted for her memorial service. I spent as much time with her as I could. I would visit in the morning before work and come back in the evening. I gained about 20 pounds through a constant diet of fast food drive-through. They tried one last treatment, but it didn't work. And on the 1st of February, the doctor came to me and said that in accord with Beverly's wishes, they were switching her on that day, the Saturday the 1st, from a morphine on call for the pain to a constant drip. And after that had time to set in, then on on Sunday, they would remove the breathing equipment. And the doctor said at that time, when they remove it, it may be a matter of minutes, it may be days. There's no way to tell. So I talked with Beverly's mother, who was with us, and we both decided that the right thing would be for the two of us to go home that night, get a good night's sleep, so that the next day, when they took the equipment off, we would be there as long as was necessary. And that's what we did. I still believe that that was the right decision. But you can make the right decision and still blow it. Because at 11:30 p.m. on the 1st of February, the day before they were to unhook the breathing apparatus, my wife passed away, and I wasn't there for her. She died alone because I blew it by making the right decision. Thank you.